One sentence summary. After 7,000 years living on Earth, some superhumans decide to do something. Could you beat the villain? Could I beat an alien who's going to hatch from the center of the Earth and, destroy life on the planet as they emerge? Yes, I could. How would I do that? I would contact the Avengers. They're a known entity in this world. They save the universe. Contact them. I'm sure they'll help out. How would you improve this film? I would have preferred it if we started with a day in the life of Cersei. Don't have her be late to her job, just have her be competent. Hanging out at work, she's hanging out with her boyfriend at his birthday party or whatever, and then one of the big scary deviant aliens attack. The superheroics happen, and then he's like, oh my god, what's going on? And that's when the flashback to 7,000 years ago and the origins of the Eternals happens. And also, every time we have a flashback in the film, someone then has to talk about the flashback. Don't do that. The film's long enough, save some time. Why is Cersei's boyfriend, Dane, why is he so cool with her being an ageless ancient alien? I know he suspected there was something weird about her before, but it was just weird how accepting he was. Also, Dane is in this film to set up a sequel, in the same way that in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, there was a room full of sequel bait, in my opinion. There are too many characters in this film, and a lot of them feel underused. For example, Kingo, he's comic relief, and then he has his own sidekick, who is also comic relief, just don't have the second comic relief character maybe. And then they both leave before the final act anyway, which is weird. They're just like, well, I don't believe that we can come to blows, so I'm gonna walk away now. Bye. You also have Mercury, whatever her name was. She doesn't even get a backstory as to what she's been doing for the last 500 years. Seems she might have just been sitting on this spaceship waiting for the plot to happen. The characters mention that they've been on Earth 7,000 years and their mission ended 500 years ago. Too many times. It's like maybe 40 times during the film someone says it. It's crazy. Every time there is a bit of drama in this film, it's undercut with a silly joke, and that gets really old quite quickly. And it's not even just from like one or two characters, it's everyone's doing it. It probably would have been a good idea to actually explain what the characters can do. In the introduction to the Eternals, when they turn up and they start fighting that deviant back 7,000 years ago, we see the, laser eyes and cosmic fists and whatever, that's fine. Later in the film, Ikaris, does his laser eyes at Druig, and he's like, he's gone. And everyone's like, oh no, he's dead, I'm so sad. And then Druig's alive. So I don't know if I should be worried about these people being hit by a bus or hit with laser eyes, or if they can just walk it off because they're all Superman anyway. But the film tells us that Cersei and Ikaris are in love, but we don't really see much of that. Maybe it's because Richard Madden delivers kind of every line in the film monotone. And I thought that's strange because I'm sure he's quite a good actor, or he's been in stuff where he can act before. And I was reading up about it and I came across this quote from Wikipedia. Madden worked to find a way to portray Ikaris in a way that he would not come across as bored of everything. Zhao's take on Ikaris was influenced by director Zack Snyder's interpretation of Man of Steel 2013, which left a strong impression on her for its authentic and real approach. Fine, if you want to base your character on the worst version of Superman that's been put to film, okay. But if in the flashbacks to 7,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, whatever, Ikaris had been a bit of more of a bubbly, let's say, or at least enthusiastic character, then in the present day, when he's all monotone and blah, 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 you could kind of see a bit of passage of time and he doesn't appear to be bored by everything, but he did the entire film. Why is Cersei teaching a class at the Natural History Museum, which is not a school? An incredibly old woman working in a museum whose boyfriend she hasn't seen for 100 years, and the boyfriend is a pilot. That is the start of the film Wonder Woman. So why are we using that for this film as well? Cersei's new boyfriend looks a lot like her old boyfriend, and no one mentions that, which I thought was strange. Also, if they broke up 100 years ago, if you're, you've been alive for 7,000 years, 100 years, that's like a week or something, surely. So I would have thought Icarus would be like, well, you're clearly on the rebound. Look, you found a cheap copy of me, who was also in Game of Thrones. I can accept that the Eternals look like a diverse cast of people from all different parts of the world, because it would help them blend in, as, you know, their alien masters want them to. But I just don't understand how they are speaking languages that don't exist yet. You could say that they are speaking celestial language or eternal language. We just hear it in English because, you know, it's easier for the film. Why has he got an Irish accent if Ireland doesn't exist yet? Why has he got a Scottish accent if Scotland doesn't exist yet? And so on and so forth. Why did they leave Ajax's body outside in the rain for so long? You would have thought they'd bring her dead corpse into the building and, you know, rest her on a sofa or something, but they didn't. Why did that Celestial spend almost 5 straight minutes of exposition with Cersei? And why did he tell her about all the stored memories of the other lives and all that sort of stuff? It's not relevant to the mission. If anything, you're just highlighting the fact that you've manipulated them and, you know, you're running the risk that they're going to turn against you. Alfred is not Batman's valet, he's a butler. Let's just get that clear. And why were there so many DC character references in this film? I don't know. Athena, played by Angelina Jolie, everyone tells her, just remember who you are. And they say, you're the warrior from Athens or whatever, 50 times as well. Her problem is not that she doesn't remember stuff, it's that she remembers too much. So remember who you are doesn't really help in that situation, because she can remember who she is in a past life. The bit where the Eternals sit around a dinner table and ask who's going to be the new leader of the Avengers felt very odd and out of place. Why would they be having that conversation? Because surely the events of Endgame happened a little while ago. Each of these Eternals, if they were interested in who's going to lead the Avengers, would have had this conversation with other people in the months prior to them, you know, this scene, but whatever. Druig's power is only good for controlling people's minds, and then every time he does that, people are like, hey, don't do that. So why bring him on the mission if he's not allowed to mind control people? Cersei gets knocked into a pond, which appears to be quite deep, and then she can stand up in it, so it wasn't as deep as it looked. The Celestials made deviants, but they realised they messed up because the deviants can evolve. So then they made the Eternals, who don't evolve. Why would they give the Eternals free will? Why not just make them actual robots, so there's no chance that they will turn against you? How exactly did Cersei force the characters to do a Unimind? Icarus and Sprite, they're all like, no, we're working against you. And then they become part of the Unimind where she powers up. Presumably we're not wearing the wristbandy things that Festus was talking about. And then Kingo, or whatever his name is, he'd already sodded off. So was he part of the Unimind as well? Or was it just people in that local area? I don't know. Why would you need to get closer to a creature that is so big that it's bursting through the Earth's crust and its fingers like you're in the palm of its hands? It's going to be right there. It's huge. It's massive. You would think that a giant emerging from the centre of the Earth would absolutely destroy tectonic plates and all that sort of stuff, but apparently it doesn't. The end of the film happens 2 weeks after the events of the action, and Festus's husband is all like, you did that thing on the news? Have they not talked about this since? What's going on? Surely a being that is bigger than planet Earth, appearing suddenly and then disappearing just as suddenly next to the planet, would have dire consequences. Like, we would immediately, we as a planet, would start orbiting the celestial, not the sun, surely. And, you know, everyone's dead then, because we'd just go floating off into space. Or what if the moon hit it and just shattered because it was so tiny compared to the celestial? I don't know. If those deviants were frozen in ice for 1,000 years or 100 years or whatever it is, how could the Eternals 500 years ago have claimed, oh, don't worry, we've killed all the deviants? Because you haven't, there's still some there. Why would we get that flashback to Icarus's betrayal before the characters find out? because it just ruins the scene of tension, because we already know that he's done a bad thing. So why are we just waiting for everyone else to find out? Stupid. Also, Ikaris is clearly evil from the outset. When they find Ajax's body, he's like, a deviant killed her. And from that moment on, it's just like, oh, well, he did it then. And it turns out he did. If he had said, like, did a deviant kill her? What happened? But him dead set, like, it was a deviant. A deviant killed her. I know, because I did it. I mean, no, I didn't. Why did Ikaris let the events of the film happen for so long? Why would he bother trying to recruit them and get them all back together? He should surely, I know he likes his friends or whatever, but just stay away from them. If he doesn't tell them that Ajax is dead, they're not going to team up and work out that, you know, the Celestials are going to destroy them or whatever. Why would they bother destroying the spaceship in the big final fight when in the very next scene it's fixed again anyway? So that was pointless. Oh yeah, and during the final fight as well, something that hasn't happened in the film, people are talking when they're off screen and they've got a small voice, like, because they're far away. That was just distracting, I thought. Anyway, rating out of 5 beers. I wonder how this film connects to the Inhumans and other stuff that may or may not be part of MCU canon. And also, it was too long and I had too many questions about it and it was rubbish. I gave it 5 beers out of 5.